Chapter 25. The Sons of the Vikings. Boom and Winger sat on a bench in the entryway of the cedar lodge where the Sons of Vikings held their meetings. So much nervous energy flowed from the boys that the bench actually grew warm. This was not one of their usual errands or chores. This was not about running to the market or scooping cucumber-sized poop. This was a mission of life or death. 2 hours earlier, Winger had called his mother to get permission to spend the night at Boom's. He had assured her that he would get to bed early since the next day was a school day. Winger didn't usually lie to his mother, but sometimes in matters of life and death, stretching the truth is necessary. Leaving Myrtle at the house, Boom, Winger, and Halvor had headed to the dock with the baby tucked in a laundry basket. No merp creatures were found, no conch shells either, so Halvor insisted that they follow him to the lodge. Finally, Boom would find out what went on at a secret Viking meeting. Halvor had ordered them not to move from the entryway bench until someone called them into the hall. Non-members weren't usually allowed in the Great Hall, except during holiday dances. Boom reached down and touched the edge of the laundry basket, where the baby lay hidden beneath a blanket. She had peered out when they'd first entered the lodge, but upon seeing the array of ancient weaponry hanging in the entryway, she had burrowed deep and had remained still ever since. A large bronze plaque hung on the wall across from the bench. It read, "Oath of the Sons of the Vikings. If thy brother is hungry, fish for him. If thy brother is cold, build shelter for him. If thy brother is sick, tend to him. If thy brother is lost, help him find his way. Never steal from thy brother." Cars were pulling up to the entryway, and men rushed in, mumbling about an emergency meeting and unseasonably strong wind. They wore overcoats and snow parkas, and a few came in bathrobes. One guy wore a pair of fuzzy bunny slippers. Some carried entire plates of food, others just a drumstick or a roll from their interrupted Sunday night dinners. Mr. Jorgensen, the retired chief of police, stopped to glare at Boom. "There's still more screws to sort," he said. "You come by next week and finish." Then he walked off. Boom fought the urge to kick his legs forward and back. He didn't want to trip up one of the passing men, but sitting still was the worst kind of torture. Forget about stretching someone on the rack or shoving splinters under someone's fingernails. Just sit two kids on a bench and tell them not to move. Finally, the cars stopped coming and the double doors to the hall shut, leaving Boom and Winger and the baby alone in the entryway. Drumming echoed from deep beyond the doors. Men's voices rose in song. "Sons of the Vikings, are we, ancestors mighty, they be. Though they're dead and gone, their blood will still flow on. Sons of the Viking, are we. Added to the drumming and singing came a great deal of stomping. Boom squirmed with curiosity. What had Halvor meant exactly when he told them not to move? Excuse me. Obviously, Boom had to move in order to breathe. He had to move his eyelids or his eyeballs would dry out. Halvor couldn't have literally meant, "Don't move." People should be precise when giving instructions. If lungs and eyelids could move, then feet should be able to move as well, taking the entire body with them. Boom tiptoed forward, followed by Winger. The boys knelt outside the great oak doors, taking turns at the keyhole. Boom could get only a narrow view of men's legs. The guy in the fuzzy slippers marched by. Boom found himself humming along to the song, recognizing it as the same tune that Halvor often hummed while cooking. A horn blew, and Winger nearly jumped out of his socks. The baby whimpered. The drumming and marching ceased. "Vikings, be seated," someone yelled. "Attend to roll call." Each man answered as his name was called. "Where's Maurice the Menace?" Maurice's wife wouldn't let him come tonight. His mother-in-law is visiting. "Very well. Who has called the emergency meeting?" "I did." Though Boom could not see the speaker, he immediately knew the voice. "Then take the sacred staff and speak, Halvor the Humble." Halvor the Humble? Strange choice, Boom thought. He should have chosen Halvor the Hacker of Fish, or Halvor the Huge. Boom's legs started to ache from crouching, but he continued to press his eye to the keyhole. He couldn't get a glimpse of the front of the hall, and now that the men were seated, all he could see was the backs of their heads. "My turn," Winger whispered, impatiently elbowing Boom. "I ask each and every one of you to swear an oath of the secrecy for sure," Halvor told the men. "What I'm about to tell you must never leave this room." "By the blood of Thor, we swear an oath of secrecy," the men chanted. "Then I shall just come right out and say it." Boom's pulse beat rapidly at the side of his neck. Boom, the boy I care for, has found a merbaby. Boom expected a round of gasps to fill the hall. Instead, what echoed off the walls was laughter, quickly turning to mumbles of irritation. You called me from Edith's meatloaf for this? What kind of game are you playing? You've always been a crazy one, Halvor. Haven't I always said that Halvor was a crazy one? You are beholden to hear me out, for I hold the sacred staff, Halvor bellowed. That seemed to get their attention, and the voices quieted. Halvor cleared his throat. Boom brought the creature home, ignorant of its horrible powers, ignorant of the curse that sickens anyone who takes a mermaid's child. The curse has fallen on Myrtle, the girl I care for. Just like Eric the Red's firstborn daughter, Myrtle's life is in jeopardy. Only the baby's mother can lift the curse. More mumbling. I speak the truth. May the wrath of Thor be upon me if I don't. Myrtle needs our help, and she needs it now. How can we believe you, Halvor? A man asked. We've heard the stories of Eric the Red's firstborn daughter, but no one here has ever seen a mermaid. Once again, I ask you to swear the oath. By the blood of Thor, we swear the oath of secrecy. Open the doors, Halvor called. The double doors opened, sending Boom and Winger scrambling to their feet. Bring in the baby! This could be a huge mistake, Boom thought as he and Winger each took a handle and carried the laundry basket into the hall. The stuffed heads of bison, elk, and moose stared from the cedar wall with their glass eyes. An aisle stretched down the center of the room, flanked on either side by men in Viking helmets and animal pelts who sat on wooden benches. At the front stood a long table made from a tree that had been split lengthwise. A fire burned in a massive river stone hearth, its flame dancing madly as wind furled down the chimney. The hall smelled like a damp forest. The basket shook, as did Boom's and Winger's hands. Boom felt like the cowardly lion approaching the great Wizard of Oz. He wanted to tuck his tail between his legs and run. He and Winger placed the basket on the long table. Show them, Halvor said. Boom hesitated, turning to look at the furrowed faces, at the beards and ruddy cheeks, at the bushy eyebrows and tousled manes of hair. Except for the fuzzy slippers and the crocheted scarves, this was how the Vikings themselves must have looked. What would these men do when they saw the merbaby? Was he dooming her to a horrible end? His trembling hands rested on the blanket. It will be okay, Boom, Halvor whispered in his ear. Show them. Show us, the men chanted. This was like showing a bunny to a pack of hungry wolves. Well, a ferocious, nasty little mutant bunny. Boom pulled off the blanket. The merbaby sprang up on her tail and bared her teeth, a formidable striking position that, even though he'd seen it many times, still scared the pants off Boom. A roar rose in the throats of the Viking descendants, and they reached under the benches and grabbed spears and axes and pointed them at the baby. No, Boom cried, stepping in front of the table. You can't hurt it. Myrtle made me promise that no one would hurt it. It's a sworn enemy, a man cried, waving a drumstick and a spear. It's just a baby, Boom argued. The men quieted a bit. It's just a baby and Myrtle loves it. It is well known that the blood of a direct Viking descendant carries the traditions of the ancient world. A Viking descendant understands the importance of pickling fish so that there will be food in times of famine. A Viking descendant knows which trees will make the best ships. A Viking descendant understands the unforgiving nature of storms at sea, the thirst for revenge, and the desire for exploration. But what most outsiders do not realize is that the blood of a direct Viking descendant carries the passions of the ancient world as well, and the passion that Viking descendants best understand is love. Lives were so short-lived in those dark days, and heartache so common, that the Vikings wrote the most beautiful love poems to ever come from the human heart, and that poetry coursed like a raging river through the blood of the men who stood in the great cedar hall. Love, they repeated, lowering their weapons. The creased faces softened, the fire in their eyes dampened. Love, they whispered to each other. Halvor tapped the staff on the floor. Myrtle's very sick. The doctor's never seen her illness because it's not of the human world. It's the merfolk's curse, as clear as day. We've got to get this baby back to its mother so the curse will be lifted. Boom reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out the paper from the print shop. I think this is a map, he said, holding it out, a map of the merfolk. The fishing boat captain stepped forward. It took Boom a moment to recognize him since he wore a horned helmet and a badger skin cape. The captain eyed the baby, who was still in striking position. "That be the reject fish?" he asked. Boom nodded. "Then I am responsible for this situation. I must help you the best I can." He slid a pair of reading glasses up his nose and took the map from Boom's hand. "Sure it be a map. There's the horizon." He pointed to the line in the center of the drawing, the night sky above and the ocean below, just as Boom thought. "It's an island, isn't it?" he asked excitedly. "Very good, lad. It be an island, and I know which one it be. Whale Fin Island." Boom had thought that the shape looked like a witch's hat, but a whale fin seemed a good description as well. Halvor scratched his beard. "Where in Thor's name is Whale Fin Island?" The captain took off his glasses. "Whale Fin Island be about a day's sail from Fairweather and not far from Pelican Beak Island, where I caught the wee creature. It be a lonely little island. No one lives there but the seals and gulls." "We must leave immediately," Halvor urged. "You must take us there." To Boom's surprise, the captain shook his head. "Me boat's too old to take the storm," he said. "Even with a strong boat, I wouldn't recommend setting sail in such a wind. The wind will blow you right off course. Wait until it passes." "But we can't wait," Boom cried. They had to understand. Myrtle might die. She might not see the year's end, might not even see tomorrow. "Then you'll have to get yourself a boat," the captain said. "I'll be happy to skipper it, but I don't know anyone willing to risk their boat in such a storm." Boom searched the faces until his gaze rested on Mr. Jorgensen. "Can we use your boat?" he asked. The retired police chief raised his eyebrows. "My boat? My boat? My Viking ship?" "Yes," Boom said. "What ship could better save a little girl's life than a Viking ship? Unless—" "Unless what?" Mr. Jorgensen asked suspiciously. "Unless you don't think your ship can take a storm." Boom folded his arms. Would he take the bait? Silence filled the hall as everyone waited for Mr. Jorgensen to respond. As he stepped forward, cedar shavings fell from his pant legs. "A Viking ship can take any storm. You've got yourself a boat." End of chapter 25.